Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum. In today's video, I'll be basically refuting all your atheists on their blind faith. Now, this is basically part of a video series that I plan to do where I point out the blind faith involved in contemporary atheism, at least the way most atheists have their beliefs, right, or their worldview. Now, atheist clowns pretend to be the most rational, right? They claim to be rational. Their beliefs are supposedly based on evidence and proofs, but that's not the case. Atheism is built on nothing but blind faith. Inshallah, I'll expose that in this series, one example at a time. In this case, two examples because they are interrelated. Basically, the point about empiricism and scientism. Let's get started. Now, firstly, just want you to keep this in mind. What is blind faith? Unquestioning belief in something even when it's unreasonable or wrong. This is the point where scientism comes in. Second definition is unquestioning faith in someone or something that is not supported by reason, logic, or evidence. This is where empiricism comes in. Now, those are basic definitions of uh, blind faith. I don't think anyone will disagree with that, right? Now, there are basically two examples of blind faith that I'll be going after in this video. I'll make a later video on the point about afterlife and supernatural. For this video, I'll stick to just scientism and empiricism. Now, both of these are common atheist assumptions. They believe this, they assume these to be correct, but these are just pathetic, and their belief is based on nothing but blind faith. Let's get started. Now, the first thing I'll refute is scientism. Scientism is basically the belief that science is the only way to truth. Right now, this is an atheist assumption, right? This is their belief. They need to prove it. No amount of whining will remove their burden of proof. Keep this in mind. Think about this. When theists have to make an argument, right? We have to prove it. We have to argue for infinite regresses being impossible or something cannot not coming into existence from nothing, right? So if we have to argue for our positions, atheists have to argue for their positions as well. Problem for the atheists is their position is based on nothing but blind faith. Now, scientism can actually, first I just wanted to make that point because science, uh, because just because I'm refuting these, right, that does not mean I have some burden of proof here. I don't. Atheists are making these assumptions, they have to prove them. But the thing with scientism is that it is actually self-refuting, and this is something that most people will realize. Most atheist philosophers will even realize how stupid scientism is, and I'll give a very simple reason why. Scientism is the belief that science is the only way to truth, right? Science is the only way to know truth. Problem is, scientism itself cannot be known through science. It is a philosophical position. So believing whether scientism is true or not, right? This is a philosophical point. It's not a topic of science. So to believe in scientism, we have to use philosophy. But if scientism is correct, we can't use philosophy. So this is just self-refuting nonsense. Now the second position, atheist position that I'll be refuting today, second example of atheist blind faith, right, is empiricism. What is empiricism? Empiricism is basically the claim or the position that empirical evidence, things we know through our five senses like seeing, smell, etc., hearing, is the only valid type of proof. What is the problem with this? Problem is there are no proofs or arguments for empiricism. There is literally no proof for this. This is an assumption. Atheists want us to take these things seriously, right? They want to uh, claim to be rational, but this is something that a lot of contemporary atheists believe, right? Empiricism. Problem is, there is no argument for this. There is no proof for this. A belief in empiricism rests only on blind faith. Now, think about this point. These are two of the most common atheist assumptions, right? Scientism and empiricism. Yet both of these have no shred of evidence for them. And scientism is just self refuting, and empiricism can be refuted with numerous examples because we can know things other than through empirical evidence, right? But again, empiricism, this is an atheist position. They need to prove it, and I could go into details regarding this, right? For example, I can give examples of things that can be known without empirical evidence. For example, infinite regresses being impossible, just one example that pops into my mind right now. But I don't need to do that because this is an atheist claim. They need to prove that empirical evidence is the only valid type of proof. Problem is, they cannot prove it. They believe empiricism, they believe scientism, yet they cannot prove either of these things. I mean, their belief is based on nothing but utter blind faith. Now, just because some people might get confused, I want to make something clear. Believing empiricism, right? To prove empiricism and scientism to be correct, atheists don't need to show that science and empirical evidence are a valid type of proof or evidence. This is something everyone will accept. Science can lead to truth, not necessarily absolute truth always, but empirical evidence, right? It can lead to truth, but it is not the only way to truth. To prove empiricism and scientism, atheists need to show that all other types of proofs and evidences are invalid. Unless they can do that, unless they can prove those things, all they have is blind faith. Inshallah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. And just think about the points I'm making, right? Burden of proof is on the person making the claim. Atheists are claiming scientism is correct, or they are assuming it. Most of the time, they won't admit it because it has been debunked so thoroughly, but they are still assuming it, and you can see it in their argumentation. Most atheists will argue, contemporary atheists, especially the new atheists related to the new atheist movement, will try to argue for empiricism. Yet, there is no shred of evidence for it. And to be honest, the atheists know they cannot prove it, which is why they have to just assert it and assume it. But assertions and assumptions are not proof, they will not magically turn into proof. So, I mean, there is no evidence for atheist beliefs, and these are essentially self refuting, right? And they can be demonstratively false. So, remember the definition of blind faith? I mean, atheists believe things without any evidence, empiricism, and things that are demonstrably false, empiricism and scientism. Though both of those definitions apply on both empiricism and scientism. I mean, this is blind faith. There is no way around this point. Inshallah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Inshallah, I'll keep refuting these atheist clowns. Till next time, Assalamu alaikum.